What is going on, YouTube? Zero Lead here, back again with a new video. Episode 26 of the Disco Era U.S.S. Enterprise tutorial. Just want to thank you very much for tuning into today's video. If you haven't, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button and helping me in supporting the channel. Definitely appreciate that, along with all the comments and subscriptions I might get. Thank you very much for all the support that we get on the channel. Today we have a couple of things to work on. We're going to be focusing on our Starship bridge. We're going to be moving away from our Starship corridors just because we spent the last couple of videos working on it. Gotten a lot done. Still have a few things left to do on it, but want to move on to other things here. So this way we can close up our saucer section to get the ball rolling on this thing, because we're so close to having the outside done. We've got to finish the saucer section, and then we have to do another pass on the shuttle bay, and then the outside of the ship will be pretty much done minus detailing. Alright, so you can see what I got going on here. This original black line that we previously set out. So you'll not need a pixel circle generator to do this because you've already done it. What we're doing at this point is just adding a light gray concrete line going all the way around directly on top of our darker line. You can see this gray right here should actually be darker. I left it that way just so I can maintain my cut there. You can see that I have the perfect circle. Now, it's not necessarily quite a bridge just yet. We're going to have to edit the back of, well, the shape of the bridge. We're going to have to edit the back here. We're going to have to continue this pattern here of 2, I think, and just continue going 2 back. So you can see I'm using blue concrete blocks right now, and the reason I'm doing that is just because I'm not sure that I'm going to keep this, and I just want to use a different color that's going to stand out, that's easy to delete if I need to. But I can tell you that I'm going to keep this design. It actually came out really good, and I'm going to end up switching this back to the lighter gray concrete. But that's just a building tip I do. Anytime I make a change or I add something that I'm not set on, I make it a color that's easy to remove. This way you can just sit there and look at it, but it stands out enough that you're not going to make a mistake and accidentally delete something that you don't want to delete. And not a super long video today for episode 26, only about 20 minutes or so. You can see now you've got that curve going on here, and I didn't pull up the picture. I didn't necessarily think it was necessary, but pretty much what I did to come to this shape was I literally just pulled up pictures of the screenshots of the Enterprise that I saved in the beginning of this tutorial series. So do the same thing and just look at the top view of your saucer section and just look at the shape of the saucer, or look at the shape of the bridge from the top down. It kind of looks like a teardrop a little bit. So that's literally all we're building right now, is a teardrop. Eventually, we're going to layer it out to make the bridge 3D. But the most important part right now is the foundation, getting the foundation right, because we're going to be building it directly off of that and using the cuts to shape our ship out. So this is hands down the most important part of your ship bridge. All right, so you can see I'm going up and back 1 this way to make a lip. I'm going all the way around this new line that we're just adding. I'm just going to do this going all the way around. Make sure to delete my access every time you cut back in. So we're cutting in this way and going back, and then deleting the access, and then just following the cut all the way back. And we're going to repeat that same process on the right side. So I made a slight boo-boo there. The circle right there is messing me up. I gotta go with my blue. That's okay, we can fix that, move right along. I could just go in and delete this part of the circle, but I want to leave that there because I don't know if I'm going to need that or not later on. So if it's not necessarily something that is stopping you from what you're doing, if it's one of your guidelines, leave it on there because you might be able to use it later. All right, you see this continuing on my pattern with the cuts, making sure that when I'm adding these blocks behind that now that there's a lip, and goes along perfect with the cut. If you have anything hanging over or if you have any blocks hanging off that's not perfect with the cut, you've made a mistake somewhere and probably have one or two extra blocks. This version of the Enterprise, the upper hull of the saucer is a little bit trickier, as like I was saying in the last video, where the registration number is on the upper side of the saucer, like going along here, it actually dips in a little bit and then there's a light going around. So that's a little bit tricky to do. It's not very difficult. I mean, it took me a little while to figure out how to pull it off, but once I was able to come up with something that worked, um, it actually came out really, really good. Right now, I'm just whizzing around, I'm just looking at what I did on my other Starship bridges to see if I want to change anything else. And you're going to see on my Enterprise A that, well, once it loads in all the way, it looks like the thing self-destructed at the moment. But once it decides to load in, you'll see that my Starship bridge on this is actually kind of big. Um, it doesn't look bad, but when you look at it side by side with the Discovery Enterprise, once it's done, it definitely looks a little bit bigger than maybe it should have been. But you live and you learn when you do these things, and one of the reasons I'm showing you this is for two reasons. Again, I'm wanting to see what I did at the time when I built this, and also I wanted to show you that as you go and you start building more ships, when you build something again, and you may not build it the same way the next time around, just because you got better at building from going ship to ship. So, even if you start off with a smaller ship, like if this is too much for you, check out my mock tutorial series because that's a much smaller scale enterprise, a lot easier to do, and then work your way up to bigger ships gradually. By the time you get to a level where you can do this enterprise, you'll be probably building almost completely different and have a different mindset with what you were doing before. Because that's something I do too. Because, I mean, um, the way I build my starships on here now is night and day compared to what I was, the way I did, the way I started it almost 10 years ago. But a lot of well, not a lot of them, all the secrets that I have as far as to making these ships a little bit look a little bit better and maybe building them at a faster pace. These are all my cheats. This doesn't necessarily feel like I'm building it at a faster pace, but I did. Um, I mean, a lot of this I did in just a couple of weeks, and this was just me by myself. And I've seen people that they've got a team of people doing something like this, and it takes them, a couple of months to do. So it's not super doesn't take ton of time, I guess, but it's definitely time consuming. But I want to jump back in what I got going on here. You can see that I'm adding in my half slabs. I started it in on our bottom row here of the first layer that we added. So now it's got a nice cut. And at this point, I hadn't committed to using the half slabs. It's at this point in the build that now I've decided that the half slabs is where I want to go, because with the other Enterprise, I primarily used full concrete slabs and it made it look too big. So we're going to be taking off this top row that we added on, and now we're going to be replacing that with half slabs. We're going to leave the row that's directly underneath it that's going with a cut, because that's going to give us just a little bit of texture on our going around our bridge. I think that'll look good on the outside. And we're going to do some other things to it too. One of the things we're not going to do is have that ridiculous observation area on the front of the bridge. And I actually want to stop this really quick and show you guys what I'm talking about here, because I found screenshots of it. I didn't think I was going to be able to, but I did. Where'd they go? Right here, Starship Bridge. So, well, actually, let me go to the outside of it. So looking at the outside of it, this whole section here is a window, and it's supposed to be the bridge, right? Now you're probably thinking, well, what's the big deal and what are you getting at? Well, just allow me a moment to indulge me. So this is from the show, and we're looking out, right? What do you notice? Do you notice anything here on the sides? There's nothing here to give the impression that this is any type of elongated window. And to show you how elongated that is, this is exactly what it's supposed to be. Is that supposed to be this huge observation area that's down below the bridge in the front where people can come in and you can see the windows. The problem, like, it looks cool. The problem with that though is that from their own design perspective here, that huge sloop that should be coming down is non-existent. So because of that, my ship does not have this area right here. What I did to get around that was I basically just made a line going around the front to give the impression of this right here. And then in the middle, I just cut out an area for my bridge and I called it a day because there's too much inconsistency there to where um, you're going to be making your ship a lot bigger than it needs to be. And at the end of the day, it's not going to look right because it's not going to match up. And that's one of the problems with how they make these shows today as opposed to what they used to do back in the day. When you do stuff off of the computer or you're not using practical effects, I feel that you're a lot likely to where things just aren't going to match up the way that they probably should. And this is just one of those cases. So I just kind of made that decision there at that point to adjust it a little bit to where you're just not going to notice it. Because at the end of the day, they never showed that observation area. That's just something I found in the booklet for the Eagle Moss Discovery Enterprise. I decided to screenshot it. That was literally the lengths I went to get all the detailing for this ship. I went on YouTube and I typed in Eagle Moss Enterprise, and I found this guy that did a review on it, and he was just going through the booklet on it because it came like this huge book that had a bunch of detail and concept art. And I saw that picture of the bridge, and I was like, "Oh, screenshot," because I figured I was going to use it. But then as I was looking at the screenshots of the interior portion of the bridge, that's when I saw that error. So, I mean, at least even the JJ verse took into account the scale of the Enterprise, and you can see the upper part of the saucer section from the bridge, you know? And that was something that I appreciated. As big as they made the ship, at least they tried to make it look that big, even though that it had its own inconsistency of its own. They at least tried, you know? I'm not trying to hate on the Discovery Enterprise, but it's hard when I see things like that just to try to go with it and not correct it, you know? But anyway, I want to hop back into what I got going on here. I'm trying to do a little bit more talking while I'm doing these videos, so there's not so much dead air, but keeping it relevant to what we're doing somewhat. Um, just filling in the last of that row, we deleted our full blocks and replaced it with half slabs, and we can kind of get an idea of the curve that we're going to have. So now I'm literally just going to go up one, and we're just going to, or not complete, we're going to continue the same process that we've been doing, just going up and in one and making sure that there's a lip behind or right in front of where we're adding blocks. and we're moving our axis because these cuts, it's helping us actually right now in creating the shape of our bridge. When it's all said and done, it's going to look pretty good. This was one of the reasons why I wish that they had different colors of half slabs, because if I used, um, or if I shouldn't say used, if I kept the bridge the same exact color of the rest of the ship with that darker gray, or the regular light gray, I should say, um, I would have had to use full concrete blocks, and my bridge would have come out very boxy. And that's why I just made the decision at this point just to say YOLO and just build with the half slabs. As you get close, you can see the difference in color, but it really doesn't look that bad. I think it looks passable, but as you zoom out, it gets harder and harder to tell. If I really hope one day they add multicolor half slabs, because if they ever do and they have it in gray, then I'll be going back and I'll be swapping out these half slabs for a gray because it'll look better. Because really the only thing I can do is every other block I can do that gray, and then I have to go back in with a quartz half slab just to have somewhat of a relevance of the, or not relevance, a resemblance of that same thing. But we're just gonna make it work. I think the half slabs work pretty good, and it doesn't look bad. Now, once we get to the top, we are gonna swap back to the full slabs, and I'm actually when we close up the top of our bridge, that's gonna be the one thing that I am going to go back and change, because my circle at the very top of it didn't come out right when I close it up here towards the end of this video, I think. Um, and I ended up going back and tweaking it slightly to make it look a little bit more like a circle and have the proportions that I want, because by the end of this, it's very I think it's very elongated, if I remember right. And I also changed the color too. I was gonna do like copper, and then I think I settled on like a yellow because I was looking at different models that I'd seen online. I saw somebody did that, and it looked pretty good. Made it look old, but then as I was looking at it more, I was like, no, that needs to be more of like a lighter color, like an aqua, or like a white. But if I can't necessarily do white, because then it's just gonna um, bleed in with the rest of the bridge, so that's why I kind of eventually settle on aqua at the very top, and it comes out great. All right, so I'm just continuing on. We're doing another row now. Just continuing the same pattern. So main thing here is want to make sure that we're adding in enough height to where the shape is coming across on the outside, but then also on the inside where you have enough room to build your bridge. Since I'm using the half slabs, technically at this point our ship bridge is actually going to end up being smaller. So I'm going to have less room on the inside because of that. Yeah, if I was using the full slabs, I'd have more space to work with above me anyway, looking looking up. But when you use the half slabs, it curves at a much more rapid rate, so you lose a lot more of your ceiling room, especially going in a circle. Get rid of the access. Okay, got one more. Sweet. Let's zoom out and take a look at that. That is a pretty solid curve right there we got going on here. I mean, it's going to be pretty hard to come up with something better than that and not get it to be too pixelated. Because that's the thing too, you know, if you come up with something like what we're doing right here, you see that everything is following a pattern. It looks to me, it looks more man-made at that point than if you'd see something where it'd be very, very pixelated. It doesn't. That doesn't. Or I shouldn't necessarily mean man-made. I should say more mathematically man-made at that point. That would be more accurate. I don't even think that's a word, but I'm using it. Because I mean, these ships. I mean, they're supposed to be able to go to warp and all that jazz. So you're not going to see a lot of boxes just randomly sitting places. Is kind of what I'm getting at. So every part of this ship, it should look really, really pretty. You know, so that's kind of my reasoning for everything should follow a pattern on here. Now, at this point, I'm literally not even going off of any pixel circle generator. I'm just winging it because at this point, I've done enough small circles that I know the length I can make it and what pattern to use that I can pull off a small one. Because it's literally just a straight block with a small L and a straight block and a small L. And then you just have to repeat that process a couple more times for the other sides. See, I'm trying to get an idea not only where my roof is going to be, but how we're going to be closing this thing up. So you can see I'm going double high. I'm having just one more row to make this circle that we added instead of one row, two. Looks good, but it needs some blending. So I'm going to try to figure out how to add in these half slabs to where I don't have stuff overlapping with each other and it still kind of looks good. We have to work on the side here. We have to do something about that. The only real solution is to make the circle a little bit smaller on the sides. Because you don't want a full high block on the sides there, because then your shape is going to start to come out wrong. And really what I'm doing now is I'm looking at my Enterprise from the side, and I'm looking at a picture on my phone of the Enterprise from the side, because I'm trying to see if this shape is right, because the Enterprise bridge has a very distinct shape to it from all sides, really. And this design that we're coming with right now, we're about like 80% there. We still have to blend in their top and tie that all together to close it up, but we're almost there. All right, so we've gotten quite a bit done today. We didn't quite finish our Starship Bridge, but we got about, like I said, about 80% of it completed. So that's going to wrap up episode 26. I do want to thank you again for tuning into today's video. If you haven't, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, helping me and supporting the channel. I definitely appreciate it. And you can always catch new videos Monday through Saturday, uh, usually around 9 a.m. Eastern. The only days I don't release new videos is on Sunday, so definitely check back for episode 27. All right? So guys, that's going to wrap it up for me, and I just want to thank you again for tuning into today's video, and I'll catch you again on the next one.